a small talk on my experience with the power of cancelling beliefs and how immensely powerful it is in clearing out stuff. I mean, for myself, it was the thing of I had so much suffering with physical symptoms personally. Gout, which is a very painful condition in the feet, asthma, which is an annoying condition where there doesn't seem to be enough oxygen around, and obviously being on a dialysis machine, I think is one of the bigger tortures you can have. It's very, very unpleasant to live on a dialysis machine every day. But this thing, I just share it because it's a thing. Actually, most of you are familiar with Dr. Hawkins, and he's also a Course in Miracles teacher, and he shared his miracles just by doing the lessons every day of these illnesses. He had 20 illnesses leave him. And one of them, which really was, when I heard it from him, it was like it shifted my capacity, because I'd had the spiritual experience with him. I knew everything he said was absolute truth. I had zero doubt. But when he shared this, it was like, oh, literally, the miraculous is possible by just cancelling a belief. For me, is just his way of reframing lesson 14 from A Course in Miracles, which is God did not create cancer, so it's not real. It says it quite simply. It's just not real. You hold the belief, you pick it up from the collective, you hold it on, you've got cancer. You see, it's just a level of fear and picking up a limiting belief. That's what it is, and it manifests. So his way of saying it is, I cancel my belief in, for example, cancer. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. But this was the one, I just wanted to share it. Because everything is possible if you let go of a belief system. And beliefs can be around money and poverty. They can be around health and conditions which seem that heavily defended as like this one's going to be impossible. Various beliefs that could be around that, or things are going to take so much time to release, or they can be beliefs can be around family and needing them to behave a certain way, or being at the effect of that. They can be around various things. So just by often I was sharing with someone on the way to the group, if there's a specific, I think it's relevant. If there's sometimes, I would say with general spiritual work, 99% of things just clear up just doing generalized spiritual work. But I think in some cases, even if you do a lot of spiritual work, things aren't clearing up, and there's a persistent recurrence of a thing. And in those, I found just doing general spiritual work and cancelling beliefs, or God did not create kidney failure, asthma, and all of that stuff, things just cleared up. But in some instances, Hawkins described it, so you do tons of spiritual work, and something doesn't clear, it keeps coming back, and it won't leave you alone. And in that case, it's like there's a specific message, a spiritual lesson, that needs to be found in this lifetime for it to abate. And you have to find that very specific message that illness is trying to teach, you see. So you have to get to the root of the lesson. So, I'm going a bit off track, but Louis, there's often a metaphor of meaning in the illness, you see. Some of the examples from Hawkins, gout. I had gout. I met him. It was quite funny. I met him, and when I first shook hands with him, I had this tingling in my toes as he transferred his vibration, and then some years later it was gone. And I was doing the Course in everything he told me to do, Course in Miracles, 12 Steps, and his teachings as well on enlightenment. So all these things just shifted, and the vibration was transferred to me. But he said, in gout is this thing of I think it's along these lines. It's the guilt of causing pain to others, you see. That was the metaphor. So you can often do, I've often shared my anti-karma prayer that Hawkins, it's not, he doesn't call it that, but you see what you've done to yourself or to others, and you just pray to God for Like for me, it would be like I pray to God for forgiveness for the one in me who's caused pain to others, you see. And then you're sort of praying to God for forgiveness, Bloody hell, the last 10 lifetimes, I was like a pain in the foot to everyone. I was a pain in the foot. I was probably treading on people's feet. I actually had one day, I'm going off on a tangent, I was on the tube. It's really funny, I was on the tube, and I was sitting there, and this man just stamped on my foot. And he did it on purpose, and he looked at me with this cunning look, he said, "Oh, sorry about that." And he just really sort of trod on it.
You have no idea why?
I have no idea why this guy on the tube just decided to, I think as I'm sharing, God's revealing a bit more of...
yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. God's revealing a bit more of what kind of unpleasant character I was in maybe past lives. So things can be revealed as to the metaphor and to the lesson, and you need to pray for guidance or just keep being in connection with other spiritual fellows until that route. But I would say in my experience, most of it, if you're doing the Course in Miracles, or you're doing heavy spiritual work on a daily basis, most of it does clear in my experience. But as Hawkins said, in some instances there is a specific meaning that one has to get, even if you're an advanced, you think you've been doing spiritual work for a long time. And there's a recurring theme. Okay, so I think that's enough recording. We're on live. If you want the camera off, just say so or stick your hand up. Okay. One of the most powerful things that I recognized was having my... When I met Muji, I had and he asked me, what am I? And I told him that I had got to the place where I could recognize, it was like there was an observer in the room which was observing me, but it was located behind me. I said, I've been trying to do the self-inquiry, that's as far as I've got. And he basically said, oh, okay, so what's behind that? What's observing that? Or is there something behind that awareness of an observer behind me observing everything? And I'm paraphrasing it a bit, but anyway, then suddenly it was like, it was a white light spiritual experience. It was like infinite light, infinite power, beyond description. And there was no world, there was no thought, there was no this or that, there was no duality, there was no positionality, there was nothing. But the brilliance of the light and the power and the love was on a scale beyond anything that was experienced before. And when I came back into the world of thought and form and perception and duality, and it's very, very obvious that even the world of perception and duality is just due to an habitual interest or identification that the ego has with experiencing, you see. So even to experience a thought is like the emergence of a sense of I, a sense of separation. And then out of the sense of separation, one can go further. There's a referencing of a sense of self. And then the whole world of perception can arise. Then there can be others. There can be, there can be identity. There can be all of these things. In even time, as you let go of more and more, one enters into the timeless present, or the eternal now. So that thing, and even as you let go of all identification and interest in identity, then you get the sense of the oneness, or that there is no one there as you, in separation to a sense of other. So all these things occur through, as I see it, the habitual interest in thought, and then as soon as that thought, or even you could say phenomena of any description or any form, and with that sort of concoction of interest, then suddenly the whole world can emerge. There's with the connection to an I thought, there's a separate I, and then there can be all these images of other separate individuals, and there can be a story around that. And the more identified one is, then it's like the world seems to get more heavier. You know, the experiencing of separation and fear and the body and what others are doing to it start to take on a higher gravity. And then other types of concepts start to arise, you know, the concept of future and the concept of past and the concept of the body being one's house and all the other concepts that stem, you know, money and relationships and how others should behave. All of these others start to occur as you get more and more heavily identified with this sense of self. And it's like, so I'll bring it back to this metaphor. So, and this is meant to be kind of practical in a sense, is that if there's anything in this present moment that you're holding on to, and it seems to have a type of gravity, or it's not, you know, there could be a fear in the body, or there could be a story of somebody's doing this, or it could be a feeling of there's not enough money around, or it could be a story around family, or a story around suffering, or a story around some kind of heavy karma, or whatever it may be, then there is a level of identification and interest that is holding this in. There has to be that, because, and here's the thing, which I often share, and I should try and find a different way of sharing it, but you know, like many weeks ago, and this is referring to anything you're holding in mind, whatever the problem may be, or the feeling, or the situation, or the relationship. It's like, if there was no interest or identification with it, it would not exist for you. And the way to see that is that when I talked about being in this group some time ago, and I was talking to everyone in the group, and then I mentioned, has anyone been hearing the noise outside, the traffic noise? And they all said no. But then as soon as I pointed it out, they could all hear the noise. So it seems to be a real physical reality. Oh yeah, that, you know, surely you can't hear something that's not here. But yes, you can, you see. And in fact, it becomes louder. So here's the thing, it's like the more one is like having beliefs or interest or identification with a phenomena. By phenomena, I mean any type of form. Form can be in the relationship of a sound. It can be in the relationship of tracking time. It can be the relationship of the identity of self, and then out of that stems the story of self relating to other. Or it can even be like those pesky feelings, you know, fear or guilt, or other various feelings. You see, they are all types of form, and they're all occurring due to there is a level of interest and fascination, or a belief or identification, that is allowing this to keep recurring on and on and on. And it's like what I realized was actually, if I don't want anything in my life, no, it's not always that you can let it go in an instant, but it's like, you know, it's like one has to cut off the juice. One has to, like, you know, have to be willing to cut off all the investment and the interest and to totally surrender in whatever way. And there can be slightly different ways I do that with things, but it's like, now what happens with sound is if there's no interest in sound, or one gets bored of it, then it's actually, it stops to arise in consciousness. And now if I was to, you know, it's like, what I've realized with pains and fears that arise, or guilts that arise, or even the idea of a relationship that arise in consciousness, which seems to be troublesome, is that I have to admit to myself that I have habitual extreme fascination and interest around this thing, you know. So it's like, if I had no interest, it wouldn't even occur for me, basically, which sounds a bit weird or esoteric. It's like, oh my God, there's fear in the body. Well, there's only fear in the body because there's interest in it and fascination and habitual wanting to hook into that. Otherwise, if there was zero interest in it, it wouldn't happen. In a relationship, there's lots of people one meets. I'd use the word random strangers. They have no invested meaning. There's nothing there. There's no hooks or identity. I mean, it's pretty boring. Like if you walked through Oxford Street, you can't remember anything of anyone that was there or anything that's going on. Or you might do. The metaphor is like if a celebrity was there. But why is it that a celebrity you might remember, and then everyone else, actually you can't remember anything out of the situation? Well, a celebrity or a family member or whatever it may be. Money is another one. Money is just money won't even exist as a potential problem unless it has great invested meaning. So to the extent that I have these pre-existing is because what I recognized was actually none of it's happening. But it is happening. But it can seem to happen, you see. It can seem to be happening to somebody because there is one of the big ones, of course, that we know is the identity or the I thought. As soon as there's an interest in thought and an identity, then the whole story and concoction of other starts to exist, which is also taking one further down. But what I realized is, in terms of being practical, and we'll get on to self-inquiry, is that it's like, this is like, if you could say my clearing in this lifetime is of things which have interest and meaning and significance for me, which are creating. If I have, for example, a thought, a lot of thoughts around money. Actually, what does that mean? It means that within my consciousness, it has immense meaning and interest and value, and lots of symbolic associations attached with it. And if it's extreme, then it will always create extreme suffering. And now we're going into a different level, in a more manifestation level, when one is holding on to immense fear because of the immense identification, tends to manifest a lot of fearful situations within the dream, within the illusion of separation. And everyone, I'm sure everyone in this room anyway, has experienced the miraculous nature of 100% letting go of any issue that one has been fully invested in. So this thing of these situations are self-reoccurring due to this. So what I realize is that all the situations in my life is that, I admit to myself, I have a lot of fascination, I have a lot of interest, that is existing somewhere within my consciousness. Do I want to 100% let it go? It may bring up a lot of beliefs or all kinds of things in which the ego will defend the necessity to live, you could say, in a world of separation, fear and control, that it's unwilling to even be willing to release. But whatever problem it is, if it's a relationship, if it's money, if it's family, it's like, this, if one is willing, and I'll go on to self-inquiry and the various methods of being willing, it's like, is one, does one want to be 100% free? Then it would mean the sacrifice, and there's different ways of doing this, of 100% letting go of the investment or the identification or the symbolic meaning that being in separation to whatever this external type of form is representing at the moment is occurring.
And how do you let it go?
Okay, so how do you let it go? So let's get to the practical. So how you let it go is
there is awareness of, now I'm just having just got letter from the government that I own 4 grand, 4 grand, you know.
Oh yes.
Because they've been overpaying me, you know. My housing benefits that they paid,
Yes.
overpaid for 6 months, you know. So I've got this thing on me, plus, you know, £600 to pay per month, you know.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like, what is happening in there? Like, is it me that is manifesting, you know, all this? You know, is fear to money? Or what is it exactly? You know, what is, it's just,
Well, yeah.
well, obviously I have to deal with this. I mean, it's not a matter of just relax and, you know, just forgive myself or whatever. It's not practical, is it? You know, how do you deal with something like that? You know, like, I just want to know why all this is happening. You know, it's like you. I always had money problems. You know, but in terms of something weird about money, you know, not knowing how to deal with it, or this idea of scarcity or whatever. You know. And there is sort of always manifesting, you know, this kind of problems with money. Well, not always, lately, you know. So money is this problem right now. So you're saying that by just let go the identification with those thoughts that are creating this, because they are thoughts.
Yes.
And those thoughts probably are coming from...
They're coming from your suppressed
my
fear.
condition, you know, my life, you know, from the beginning or from previous lives or whatever, you know, but this seems to be the problem, you know, so how do you know, what does it need to happen in your mind just to click it and say, right, it's this, you know, so I let it go, you know. I'm not explaining myself properly.
No, I think
you
you're
know,
doing
but
good.
you were just saying that there is this identification with, something happens because there is an identification with those thoughts,
Yes.
you know. So, so how do you just let it go so that thing it dissolves, you know? So you deal with the situation, you know, but not in a way that you don't have, you know, this energy that is completely, you know, this fear, you know, this block, this fear, this contraction in your body that it doesn't allow you to deal with the situation properly or to see it with clarity or without fear, or, you know, so how do you deal with that, you know? Like, how do you stop having interest in those things? That's what I mean.
Thank you. You asked about three questions there, and okay, I'll try to answer your more sort of intellectual questions first before we get to the thing. Like, the thing is, when you're holding a lot of suppressed feelings, i.e. fear, and there's a lot of symbolic meaning on it, you take the actions in accordance with your level of consciousness, you see, and if you're in great fear and great thinking, you have a certain vibration which reflects your identification with the ego. So automatically, not only will you be manifesting situations, but you'll be taking the relevant actions according to that level of expression of your ego. As you do any spiritual work, you'll be going up and it'll get better. You just take the action. All actions stem out of what you are in terms of your spiritual growth. Like somebody in extreme fear and extreme paranoia will automatically, they are what they are. So they will make the choices and life will unfold if they don't do any spiritual work based on that level. So if they do a bit more spiritual work, what they see as the situation and the actions that they will take will again reflect this new level of spirituality and release of fear and thinking around it. So it's usually with most people it's a slow process. Unless you become Buddha in 1 second, which is also possible, miracles will always happen, then everyone is just being the perfect expression of their current level of identification with thoughts and fear. So it gets better and better the more you let go, and the actions you take, dependent on how much you've let go and what you see as the world, changes automatically. And the world also, as you release the stuff that you hold, your projections of the world that starts to seem to appear to that sense of dualistic separate you also starts to shift in parallel. So the actions, I'd say, I'm answering your question on actions, is that, you know, you do the spiritual work, and as a consequence, your actions will automatically shift. It's just that by your nature, your actions stem forth. They unfold out of that. So that's the thing on... I'm answering your question on the practical level, which is that you don't need to worry about the actions in the sense that your actions will automatically arise out of where you're at. And, you know, those actions, just allow them to happen. You know, those are the only actions you can take, because at your current level, what you see the situation is, and what you think are the appropriate actions, you will take them automatically, because you by choice you can't do anything else but be what you currently is, your reflection of your level of consciousness as what you see yourself to be and what you need to do. But the thing is, of course, in raising your level of consciousness and in what you perceive to be the problem, automatically as you make those shifts, the actions you take or what you see to be a problem will also radically shift. And also your life, as you see less trouble out there, will also automatically shift in the realm of duality. Now, if you were to be able to go from seeing a problem and seeing yourself as a self facing a problem, for example, of money, if you were to able to go from that to not being a separate self in relation to that problem, that would be, you're getting more or less into the levels of, if you were to sustain that state, the levels of enlightenment, in which case there is no such thing as a problem, and there's no such thing as yourself in relationship to a problem. Now, in terms of, in terms of, you are, you know, as of your level of consciousness, you're dealing with the situation based on what you see to be the problem and the best actions you're able. As you let go of these identifications within yourself, the whole universe, as you perceive it to be, will shift in accordance, and the current reflection of less fear and less problem and less future will consequently manifest a different world that you'll be experiencing. And so that you'll find that as you release that heavy identification, the clarity in what you need to do, or the miracles of sometimes, these problems will start to disappear from your life as your heavy identification with them go. Now, I know you're asking for a magic bullet, like let me go.
Well, no. It's just I'm very confused because, you know, like 6 months ago, you know, for me it was like a miracle that they were just offering me, you know, paying for, you know, giving me the housing benefit, because it was very convenient, because I had to go to Spain with my mom's problems, and I had to go in March, I had to go in April, I had to go in June, July, in October. It's loads of months in the Basque Country dealing with, you know, family issues.
Yes.
And meanwhile, you know, maybe my state of mind was just better, or my level of conscience was just higher, or whatever. And I thought, oh wow, look, I mean, this is happening. They're paying for this. How convenient is this? Because otherwise I would have to be working here and dealing with the situation with my mom, you know. So it's, what I mean is, like, sometimes, you know, it's just life that gives you, you know, we got an expression for that in Spanish, you know what I mean? Like, suddenly it's just like beautiful, and then boom, next is just plof, you know. It gives you una de cal y otra de arena, something that, and then it just goes around and it gives you another experience like this one, you know. So in terms of consciousness and the level that I'm at, or whatever, I'm very confused, you know, why is this, you know, why is this like suddenly poof, you know, you got something that I consider like a sort of a miracle, and now, they're telling, I'm getting this, this bad news, about, oh no, we shouldn't have paid you that money, so therefore you owe us this money, So in terms of consciousness and, and all that, how does it work, It's this is what really confuses me, like, what is it? Is it me that is just, attracting all this? But before I was just attracting a good thing, I was attracting a miracle that they were paying me, And, now, well, yeah, so it just confuses me, really, in that level, you know what I mean? I'm very confused.
It's
I don't know how it just goes like that.
Yeah.
Why is it not, sort of stable, like if you're manifesting something, why is it not, or what is it? Is it like a fear just came into my mind and then proof, or what is it? Or is it because it has to be like that, Or it's because there is a lesson here for me to learn, It's because I have to let go all these fears of, not being supported, or I don't know, or I can cope with this. I don't know.
I mean, for me, that's as I see it. Look, it's like, I've been doing spiritual work for a long time. I know you have as well. And when you start having this intention to spiritually let go, it's quite common to have these experiences of bliss or enlightenment or everything. These experiences of, you could call them the flow states, where there's no you and everything is just happening miraculously. When you need something, it's provided, everything just happens. And it's like there's no you, and it's the most beautiful ecstatic state. It just goes on. But then suddenly, with most spiritual seekers, at some point something happens. And it seems they're very much in the old states of fear and identification, and wishing they could be back into that beatific, blissful state. Now that's very, very common. And it's like, as I see it, it's like my ego comes in with certain conditionings and patterns. As I do the spiritual work, one tends to be catapulted into those states more often and more regularly. But every now and then, it seems like an event or a person or a money circumstance, or whatever it may be, seems to create this seeming collapse of the graced state, shall we say, into this more hard, identified, fearful, separate dualistic state. It's just because it's like, as I see it, it's like the universe has to bring up what's remaining, which hasn't yet been cleared within the ego, so that there is no, because actually there is nothing out there.
The ego, or you mean, you say the ego, you say subconscious thoughts,
yes, subconscious thoughts.
There.
It's like in this room you might be in bliss, and it might be like this beautiful bliss, and then your mother walks into the room, you see. And then suddenly, in that split second, one is a person in fear or in anger, and it's like, well, I was at the enlightened level, and then suddenly I'm in time, and I'm in a relationship with this other individual. But I was like, there was nothing that could stop me. Why is it that my mother can suddenly pull me out? It's like, so it's like, it's like the universe will make sure when you're in bliss that your mother comes into the room, you see. So it's like you've still got these unconscious thoughts which you haven't yet released. So it's very, very common. So it's just a thing. I mean, it happens to me, and it happens, I'm sure, to most spiritual seekers, that they're in this sublime, the advanced spiritual seekers are in sublime states quite regularly. But every now and then, there seems to be, the universe presents a hook of something which has high relevance and identification. That there's still unconscious stuff that's not triggered maybe in this moment, but when you see your mother, or when you see a bill come through the door, or something related to a tax bill or whatever it is, that suddenly drops the state. So that is the thing of like, the ego not being 100% finished, these unconscious identifications with the symbolic meaning of money or an individual or something have not been, there is still some habitual identification there, which needs to be, that needs to be cleared if you want total freedom. And to as you said, eloquently said, to re-enter those states, because as you sort of more or less indicated, and that's the truth, as you get into these more identified states, the experience of self and suffering and fear-based circumstances is a natural consequence of these states. So it's like when these things arise, it's like like with money. You see, you have to be identified with your aspect as a separate self and a relationship to money, and to keep living and to keep being in relation to other attachments. If there's no interest or investment in any of that, then it's a non-event, or whatever is happening with money, and because one has transcended that whole story. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think nearly all spiritual seekers can have these beautiful, sublime states of unfolding grace and the miraculous beingness and presence, and then they drop down when something occurs. But then, of course, life is experienced, I would say, to the level of identification with the ego and form and separation. So when one becomes highly identified, for me, it's the thing of going into, now we can start to talk about self-inquiry as one of the mechanisms. Of Course in Miracles is another mechanism of wanting to be 100% free. And in wanting to be 100% free, then it's like, is one willing to let go of all meaning, investment and interest in all the different components that is pulling this story into continual existence in the present moment? So there's different ways of doing that. But for me, nothing exists if there's no identification. There's only love and light and bliss and oneness. That's all there is. So if that's not the case, then there is some kind of habitual identification or interest in either an idea of self in relationship to, well, it has to be, in relationship to other or to the world or to the future. There has to be a you, and then a you thinking about the future. So we're already going far down into the trap of me and starting to get even more worse into the future moments, and not just being 100% in the now, which has no separation, no aspect of identification. Then you see this thing of limitation or restriction only occur with identification. If there's no hooks into any type of thought or form or separation or sense of other, then there is only what is here now. And that is beyond all limitation and all restriction and all perception. So this thing, of course, is important, yes, because the whole world of experiencing absolutely shifts when one is caught up in this stuff, and the life and how it manifests. So what I'd say is, I'm for myself, I'm a seeker of enlightenment. So it's like, as Buddha would say, these are attachments. These are attachments, and they have their life of their own due to the invested meaning and interest that is allowing this thing to keep reoccurring, and not allowing the state of grace to reoccur. So it's like, as Mooji would say, this has got to go on the chopping block. We got to
Yeah, but then that's when I start doing that.
Yes.
Like when I start, aligning myself,
Yes.
and saying, well, this, this. It might have there must be a solution for that. There must be. I don't want to get too caught in the problem, and then I just relax myself, and I let it go. It works very well, but then there is a thing. It's like, well, am I being denial in here? Because actually, this is very serious. They can evict me, and I can face an eviction, and then it's loads of things, that they come along. And then it's like, oh, well, I have to act, and then when I start acting, I really don't know what's the best choice for me, because it's not very clear at the moment my life situation, because of thinking in the future, obviously, shall I go there with my mom or what shall I do, So it's when I try to relax and just to think like, well, all this is got purpose, and I'm trusting, I trust the universe, whatever it has to be, but then it's like, am I in denial? So I'm just in that flip-flop sort of thing that really is not very clear to me, what I'm doing. It's okay to let all this go and trust, but nothing seems to happen at the moment, and I need to take action, so I cannot completely let it go, because there is a thing in my mind that I'm in complete denial. This is what I think.
I would let the thought go that you're in denial. Look, in terms of actions, actions will just stem from your current level of consciousness, and just take those actions. But what I'm saying is, take the actions the only actions you think you need to do. Don't spend much time on it.
There's a survival mechanism that it acts naturally towards this.
That's right. Let that happen. That takes a few seconds in the day. The best I can think of today is to, whatever it is, go to the bank. Yeah. Okay, no, that's it. Finito. Do that. And so that's 1 second of the day. And even when you're walking there, you don't need to think about it. And you just do the thing. So that's not the problem. The actions will just be automatically clear, even whatever it is. You thinking about it, worrying about it, you staying in that state of thinkingness and future about it, all of this stuff is not required. So it's to understand that state, and you said it, when you're in that state, everything is okay. Everything just happens. So it's not a denial. It's just automatically trust whatever you see to be the actions. They take a few seconds, just do them in the day. But the rest of the time, you 100% let it go. And rest in that state of bliss and peace and presence. Those actions can occur, but you can still be, even in taking those actions, like on the way, if it's like go to the bank, there's no thought of the journey, just one is in the present moment, in bliss, and go to the bank, pay a check in. But so the problem is not, you don't need to be in your ego. You allow whatever consequent actions to happen, they will automatically happen. But even when you're taking those actions, it'll be clearing. Actually, nothing is happening as you're taking those actions. You're just in the sublime presence and bliss. You 100% let it go. They're often with things around money and fear is like, you even let go of the story of you and survival and future and all of this stuff, you see. So that's the practical is handled to the best that your current level of but you don't spend any time thinking about it or being in the future about it or doing anything about it. But for me, of course, the obvious thing is, to get back to that, or be in the whole day, or spend the whole day releasing the identification, or even the interest, or even being a person in relationship to a future around that problem. You're just releasing it, just being in that flow state, because ultimately that flow state, or that state of presence, or beingness, or oneness, or isness, is the thing that will create the miraculous unfolding to return. Now, sometimes, because the ego comes up with these powerful thoughts like, no, this is reality, and I'll be in denial just to be in bliss and peace and oneness around it. Or it's not compatible, because if I'm in bliss and oneness, who's going to pay the bills? You see, but you just have to. It's like a thing of like, if I have practical things to do, it's like I want to be in the presence and the beingness, and even for those in the presence of the beingness, though there's nobody doing those actions just happen. But while there's still an identification with an individual, then it seems like the individual's in fear needs to be in the future and needs to individually take those actions. But so while you're in that aspect of level of consciousness, just know that any obvious actions, allow those to happen in the day, but just to keep, is to dissolve you being, even doing those actions, dissolve the identification with that, dissolve any sense of future, allow those things to happen, and then be in this state. So eventually these things occur. In the flow state, everything is just unfolding, and there's no one doing anything. Everything is just happening. But while you're in this contracted, identified state, then know that you don't need an ego mind to take actions. But the ego mind will present actions. If there's obvious actions, let them happen, but without dissolve the you who's even taking those actions as you're doing that, and dissolve the sense of future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those actions are taken a little bit on the future. You don't have to think of the future when I'm taking actions, because it is. But either stay here, get a job, and then once I get a job, I'm just from 9 to 7 or whatever, and then with a contract, blah blah blah. Therefore, I cannot go to see my mom when it's needed, So that's the conflict, and I'm gonna still have problems with my brothers that they're gonna blame me because I'm not there with her. I'm not taking responsibility. So this is, when it comes to take an action or decision, I put my mind in the future, Anyway, I mean, I've been many years, with the Course of Miracles, and I had experiences, so there is a moment that I give it, whatever action I'm gonna take, I don't know which action I'm gonna take, it could be this one or that one, When I'm taking it, I want to believe that is the one that is, it had to be taken,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I kind of, I mean, I get what you're saying, because I've said it myself before, it's like, there is part of me that does want that magic bullet. I
Yes.
want that quick tell me how to, almost like the 12 steps,
Yes.
but condensed into one.
Yes.
It's like that quick, get me there.
yeah.
It's like, because I know you go through the process of the 12 steps is a very, very good clearing process.
Yes.
But it can be quite prolonged.
Yes.
And I know there are quicker ways of getting there because I've experienced it myself in the past, but it's trying to, it's like no matter whether I worry or don't worry, there is a reality.
Yes.
If I have an empty fridge
Yeah.
and I have £1.50 to my name because somebody hasn't paid a debt or something like that, I am that, then it doesn't matter whether I worry about it or not, I've still got an empty fridge and £1.50 to my name. That is still the reality of life on this planet, no matter how much we want to, and I'm speaking for myself now, it's almost like I can say it's just a thought, I can cancel my belief, I can do all this thing, but I'll open the fridge and it's not suddenly full up with food. It doesn't, I can say I cancel my belief in an empty fridge, God did not create an empty fridge. I won't then go to the kitchen and open my fridge and find an abundance of salad in there, It's like, or it's not, it doesn't work like that. I'd like to see somebody who said it does work like that, because then I'd probably give them a big hug and say thank you for the faith, but...
Sorry.
No, I think you're lying. Well, you opened your fridge and there was food in there that wasn't.
Yes, but like it just kind of happens because Grace takes care, so there is a certain taking care. And
It's-
still, yes, okay, the body goes to the shop and buys food.
Yeah,
Like no one else brings it to the house but this body.
yeah.
But somehow there is a taking care of that love energy and awareness
It doesn't
energy.
feel like that at the time, and I think I think the other thing that I tend to do, and I know this is about, it's like I've kind of, like I said, it's like it's been a thread through my life where it's been like feast or famine, and I've had little bits, little tastes of prosperity, intertwined with long periods of, oh my God, how am I going to pay the electricity bill? They're going to cut me off next week type fear. And yet there are people in this world who don't do any spiritual work at all, and they're driving around in Ferraris. And they never have to want for anything. And it comes to them as a not, and they flow, the prosperity flows through to them, and there is no spirituality in none of this letting go. They can be worrying about their bills and they can be panicking about this, but they've still got it. You know, it's like you take, I mean, I'm not particularly a fan, and I don't think many people are, but Donald Trump, for instance, billionaire, lost all his money, was blacklisted by all these companies, and then he made it all back again. It just came, you know? Now you can't exactly say he's living a spiritual life, but he gets, so there's this seems to be that the spiritual solution is okay if you want to go and live in a hut on a hill somewhere and eat radishes and sprouts forever, but it doesn't really sort of suggest an abundant life in abundance, does it? It's, well, or am I just missing a major point here of like the practicalities of attachment and non-attachment?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if you let go, will God give you a Ferrari and...
well, I don't particularly want a Ferrari, a new camper van would be nice.
And all right, if I let go, God, if I let go, will a new camper van appear in front of my doorway tomorrow?
Yeah.
And that's not letting go, you see.
No.
And
so I'd rather hold on, because I'd rather have a camper van than not a camper van.
well, yeah, you're also describing a specific form to God,
I mean,
of how your abundance must appear to you, as opposed to how it will be in accordance with divine will, you see. So
right.
it's an attachment.
I mean, I understand. I'm just kind of expressing the day-to-day frustrations I feel when I open the fridge and I'm like, shit, is it jam sandwiches again? You know, it's like, it's the...
It's you know, for me that I do understand. I think it's the thing of like there's security and there's interest.
It's the insecurity.
There's a security from the world that the individual wants, and there's a type of way that God must present life to be, so that the sense of identity thinks there's a sense of abundance occurring. But all of this for me. And you've experienced flow states before as well.
I've experienced the flow states, yeah. At the time, though,
yeah.
Well, at the time, and I say at the time, I'd actually had money because I'd inherited,
yes.
so I didn't need to worry about that.
Yes.
But part of what spat me out of that flow state was money issues, running out of money, not knowing what to. I started to get reattached to that story about where the money was going to come from when it ran out, what to do with it before it runs out, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And so that's that kind of. So I lost it around that issue.
Okay, so it's a major attachment for you, and you know what I would say is I can't guarantee what life will be like if you let go in terms of the material ways that form shows up in life. However. For me, these are all, there were lots of major attachments there, and lots of outcomes and expectations of what needs to be the consequence of letting go. And in terms of those flow states, everything is provided in whatever way it's provided, but it's enough. And it's more than enough. It's a blissful experience of being in those states of the unfolding grace. Now, to trade that for an identity, being in the future and wanting things, is actually a poor substitution. Now, just to have that sense of separate identity, then all of these things start to become real. And I've got to worry about money. I've got to have a good supply of food in the fridge, you know, or whatever. These things become legit, but it's a state of a lower vibration of investment, attachment, self in relationship to other and future, and all kinds of things. So, for me, it's very, very clear. It's actually not about the material trappings. It's not about the material trappings. You know, like to the ego, it's one of the biggest things. It's like dualistic relationships, money, possessions, food, these ideas about what abundance must look like, all of these things are what hold the separate identity in place, and actually is not allowing the infinite grace to unfold in life through whatever way it wants the unfolding to be, free of identity, and free of an identity trying to give outcomes and expectations, which you could say are forms of limitation to the supreme consciousness, or to the Godhead, as to how things must be for it to get that sense of freedom. It's not like, whether you're a multi-billionaire or whether you're in poverty, it's not the outside things which describe what's happening on the inside, And so that's a dualistic perception, Well, that person has X amount of money, therefore he's happy and free and lucky, and that person hasn't got that much money, therefore they're having an impoverished life. Is not the thing. In the miraculous realm, like Hawkins described it, and actually both, like Muji, my two teachers are Muji and Dr. Hawkins. He was like, his story was the thing of he was claiming benefits, and then one day Muji, he was claiming benefits, and one day he went for an interview, and where they asked about what work have you been looking for, and it came to him in that thing that he didn't want to lie any longer. So he said, well, I haven't done anything. You have to look for work. So they immediately said, okay, well, we're ceasing all your benefits. So he became homeless. And it's not going to be a good advert for...
It happens. The enlightened ones,
So he was homeless. And the first day he was out, he's homeless. Someone came, I remember this one, and someone saw him, and immediately offered him a banana. Said, you look like you need this. And they gave him a banana. And he knew that was the symbolic representation, obviously, that don't worry, everything will be handled, because he had that. It was his time to say, look, no, with that level of dishonesty, and also to face the idea of being on the streets without a home. But immediately the universe, after you transcended and let go, the universe then said, look, here's a banana to show you'll be taken care of. So that's the mystical nature in even going to the extreme of like your only source is benefits, and will you still remain in bliss and lose your benefit? Because the ego would say no, never tell them, I tried for like several jobs this week, I just lost the documentation. No, the ego would be like, no, you've got to stay in identity and control and fear and the symbolic meanings of everything that's represented in the collective unconscious. But it's one of those things, yes, I remember, it's like you have to, in order to experience the miracle, you have to fully let go, even if it looks like you're walking into the jaws of death.
And you might.
And you might. And that's also letting go.
Yeah.
That's true. It might, but that's letting go. That is what letting go is. It's not like, if I let go, can you give me a guarantee that I'll have.
You never know.
It's that.
I must say, sorry, that when you were saying that, your grace will take care of and all that, I might say that in my life, I had very abundant moments, and moments where I didn't have, but I always had money in the bank, but for security, for something urgent, but there are moments like you don't want to touch that money, and then you feel like, wow, it's like now I really need to, touch that, moments in which you don't have anything, and except that money, but always had in my life, when I've been like that, it's like, well, something has happened always, Either someone has been offering me a job, or even so my instinct of survival, like boom, it reacts, and then suddenly you are like, oh, that's it, it's over, It really, so I've got great faith in that sense, because I know that either one way or another, you know, something, you know, I'm not going to be, you know, sleeping underneath of a bridge, you know, or I might, I don't know, maybe this is what I need to go through, you know, to learn my experience, you know, because I think that something might take you there, you know, for you to click it or to sustain it, you know what I mean? You never know, you know. But yeah, I always had, you know, that what you say, you know, there's always something coming along, you know, that it will just...
I love your trust and surrender.
Yeah, and then you will say, well, what's all about, you know, like all that worry, and if you at the end look, and then I'm in tears, you know, kneeling, just giving thanks to the universe, you know, for, oh well, everything is just go back and everything is back in track again, you know, so that's, I know, but those moments were, you know, it's just this energy that it just traps you, you know what I mean? And it's very energetic as well, you know, it's something that it just blocks you, you know, and it blocks you in such a way that you don't flow. You don't see, you know, okay, well, this is the exit to this, I have to take this action or whatever, you know, you are there, you're trapped, and then you go, your head full of possibilities and you don't know which one to take, and if I take this is not going to be the right one because this, and the better is this, you know, and then, and it's just horrible, it's just really, it's just like you can't help it, you know, because it's just, you're blocked, you know, completely blocked. And then, well, I don't know, something happens, you take an action, and then boom, 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 and little by little everything starts, you know, taking form again, and then you are flowing again, you know what I mean? And then everything, goes, you know. But then again, something happens, you know what I mean? Like it's
increasing freedom. Grace wants to just wash away all the things. I'm experiencing the same right now, so I was experiencing the same around relationship, and like Sabra said, it's like the separate identity might even feel, oh my god, I'm gonna die, and it's like, okay, what else to do? And just the energy, you just feel that energetic, the same thing that you experience, the heart, the headache, the body, the ties in the chakras, or whatever. Yeah, because there's a higher recognition that there's some space, or like by grace, because of those moments of oneness or bliss or just space that are known, they kind of are like enabling to say, okay to this sensation, okay, this experience, okay, let go more. So there's some of that as well. And it can be about anything, any area of life, any belief, whatever, because it's us that make our own beliefs, and then grace is helping us to wash the beliefs away. But it's like you're in a washing machine and you spin, and put in a spin in the washing machine. So that is kind of experience, and then there's a like occasional recognition of a place where none of that is happening or that's being observed. So I don't know, both. But either way, it's good to just meet it, and then more freedom comes, and it's how it is. I don't know. I'm going through exactly the same right now. It just literally feels like, I'm gonna die if I have to let go of this. Oh my god, and just full of thoughts like coming through from the different, and I know none of it is real. I know none of it is in this present life. It's all past life stuff.
Where do you get that idea though? Because I don't believe that we will know who we're reincarnated from. I think we just pick up information that's not necessarily accurate.
Maybe you're right, I don't know.
I'm just
That's
curious. It's because when I hear about ideas like past life, regression, like the chakra system, are these not all just attachments as well, that we attach to these ideas in order to soothe ourselves, whether it's crystals or anything really? I mean, I carry, well, I haven't got it at the moment, but I sometimes carry a piece of rose quartz around with me. Don't necessarily believe that it means anything, more rather that I attach a meaning to it because it gives me some degree of soothing, perhaps.
Both of them are true, I think. But for me, they're just like thoughts seen in consciousness. So it's like there's a thought, an identity, and a belief, and it's known, it's not me, and it's known, it's not here, and like,
Yeah.
what is that about? So the inquiry goes on those like that. And then it's just been, I don't know, experience that life has sent me people who are able to read into things and see. But it's it's a kind of like meaningless whether it's past life or not. It makes no difference whatsoever.
No, I know that from what I gather, part of Buddha's teaching in the time that he lived, when he was speaking about releasing attachments, he also meant releasing the attachment to the multitude of different Hindu gods that there were at the time as well. So, because there was a god for everything.
Yeah, I mean, with of course, Buddha said the way to get out of reincarnation is to be enlightened, and so that sort of explains it. You know, whether I mean, enlightenment is just part of the fictional story of duality, and actually that's not real either. I mean, all meanings and projections are just there's an identification with a separate self that can seem to come through many different lifetimes. But that's not real either. See, so once you observe the identity, you realize that all the identities that you thought it was through various lifetimes, none of it was real. And that was just a symbolic identification. So you're free of the whole story of the whole idea of fear and separation being an actual reality that exists. So you've now transcended every meaning or identification that can construe some aspect of fear and separation. Because as soon as there's separation, as soon as there's an identification of a sense of self in relation to other, then actually one is in some form of either subtle or gross level of fear and separation. Because that's the case. In the infinite light and infinite love and infinite power that exists without identification, as soon as there's identification, then the grades of experiencing a world, which is just a reflection of the level of current identification, in the grosser levels, more extreme fear, suffering, and future and past start to exist, and an independent life in separation to other are felt in an extreme manner. Now, so that's the thing, So on a certain level, they're in terms of the course, they're called magical beliefs. They tend to happen because there's belief in them. So, so if you believe that antibiotics will cure your infection, your belief in that will cure it.
It's information that we've been receiving, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not that how can we believe? We have no experience of, going back, in the past. So therefore it's just a belief, and belief are, they're just thoughts, beliefs, ideas. They're not real, are they? And at the end of the day, with this spiritual process, what it's about empty the mind of all these ideas that we've been conceiving, for many generations. It's just, I suppose, it's when you get rid of all these ideas, like when you give the space to your mind to let the truth in, when I had that experience, that I was just awake for a couple of months, none of that was relevant at all. None. I mean, you couldn't even explain why was this happening and where it was coming from. Or there was in your mind, there was not even the space for that idea of questioning anything. It was just pure bliss in the pure present moment, and that was just all already, so there was no, so it's like doesn't exist, that exists in here.
Yes.
Well, just because we know that we are energy as well, and energy cannot die, so it keeps just moving from, but we are not sure of that. I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't disagree with the idea of, past lives and reincarnation, all that, but I cannot be certain of it, because you know, I haven't had the experience of going back into my past life, you know, so it's just a belief, really. It's just a belief.
And you, I mean, you described the beauty. You were there for 2 months. Are you not there now?
No, I have no. Of course, how can I be there with all these problems?
Okay.
You know, I came back. You know, this. Well, when it came back, it was the identification of the self. You know, again.
Okay. So in this moment, what is?
Take me there again.
What is the? You have an eye in this moment, do you?
Yes, I do feel. Yeah.
Oh, the heater.
Well,
the heater has gone off. I'll put carry on.
I
need to get my boots because I need to make a move.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's just a comparison how I was, you know, in that, you know, moment, you know,
Yes.
and how I am now, you know. So I suppose it's.
Okay, so can you drop that thought of past in relationship to now?
Yeah, drop it.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, forget the thought.
Yeah, it's
So,
just a thought, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So now, what is there any? Are you a story now, or are you the past now, or something?
Right now it's just the memory of, you know, what it was like when I was, you know, in that state. And, yeah.
Can you let that go?
Yes, I let it go.
So is there any sense of limitation in this moment?
No.
Okay.
No. Right now, no. It's just like, you know, when I put the interest in that, you know. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's it. That's how you return. In
That's
every moment,
Yeah.
every moment, if you pick up a memory or a thought or anything, and then as you remain in this, just drop everything and just be in this state of silence, limitless or presence, or even absence of identity in the now, then that's it. It's only for this moment.
Yeah.
Just now, right now.
Mm.
You know, forget everything. And then the next moment, again, exactly the same thing. And then eventually, this becomes self-sustaining. And then the return of grace will arise. You see, the habitual hooking on to a thought, or a story, or an identity, or a future, I mean, immediately you can never return. Because to return is just like, can you clear everything now? Let go of everything now. Just not forget the next second.
Yeah.
Forget even the next
I
second.
suppose there is a
Yes.
thing, you know, in my mind that it rules, you know, like I cannot go back to that state because that state, it happened miraculously, you know. I didn't do anything to get awakened, you know, to have that awakening experience. I didn't do anything, you know. It was just extreme circumstances under very huge stress, you know, that, and then suddenly there I was, you know, I was awakened from the dream completely, you know. But I didn't do anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now, with this identification of the I, is like, in my mind, is like, I cannot go back to that state. I just can't.
Well,
Because it doesn't depend on me, you know. It's just.
well, the you exists because of identification. Yes. And your habitual wanting to be in the story of you. And also making up this story about the you that got it without any, you know, for no reason. These are all thoughts as well. These are all stories that allow the you to continue to exist, you see. So, thing was, you know, for one moment you weren't holding on to a story, and now again you've picked up so many thoughts. You see, but the thing you see is to trust what I'm saying. If you can do it in one moment, and you keep, I'm using languaging. Languaging is not perfect. If you keep doing this, then the grace will return, because there'll be an absence of you, and an absence of you, and an absence of you. At a certain point, the grace will take over, because it's like, you know, you coming back into you for one thought, and then allowing you to exist for many thoughts and many moments will consistently block off. In the beginning it seems like work. It seems like you are just letting everything go and just being here, present. And then a thought tries to emerge. You see, you catch it and release it. So this will bring, because there's no you. If there's this presence and no picking up of a thought or identity or identification with the body or an existence of future, that's it. So that is you without you, because there is no you in that. So it's the infinite you. So this is the way. If you don't pick it up, just trust the.
So what's the process again? What do you do to me to get, you know, that realization? Just a couple of questions.
I'm going to make a move.
Okay.
So,
You never know.
yeah.
Okay. Is it okay I'm recording?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay. All right. Can I just ask, we're now getting to this very present moment. You know, I'm not particularly asking about the last moment or what's going to happen in the next moment. Just this moment now. If you can get current to this precise moment, what are you experiencing as yourself in this moment?
Fear.
Okay, good.
Mild fear.
Okay. Does this fear have a location, a shape, or is it, how is it being experienced, this fear right now?
It's a fear of letting go of an attachment, and I feel it here.
Okay. Well, okay, there's like a ball of fear in the chest.
It's not intense, but it's there, yes.
Okay, yeah, ball of fear in there. Now, this ball of fear in the chest has not always been here.
No.
There have been times when there has not been a ball of fear seemingly in the chest area. So it's something that can be here or not be here.
Yes.
Yeah. And therefore there has to be that which is observing when it's here and when it's not here. You see, just like if I put
I can be aware of when it's here, and I know that it isn't forever. So there is. I'm not sure if I can see it as an observer, more like a personal awareness, a personal in-touchness.
Yes, good. So okay, so there's this. So right now there's an awareness of fear, even though the fear is here, and this fear is not the fear. This awareness is not the fear.
The awareness is not the fear.
No, and it knows when the fear ball is here, and it's also aware when it's not here.
Yes.
So it's earlier. It's an earlier you than when. It's like if you put on blue jeans or black jeans, the you that is before the blue jeans or the black jeans is a more intimate you. Does that make sense? Are you with me?
No,
No, you're with me. Okay, the awareness is always going to be with you.
Yes.
And is the more true you than fear being here or not being here. Because awareness will always be here. Fear is sometimes here.
I feel that I am in touch all the time, yes. I don't think of it as an awareness, I just think it's my body's signals telling me what's wrong. Telling me that there's something wrong. I don't see it as a it's like as an analogy to move myself away from this attachment for a minute.
Yeah.
If I was to hit my finger with a hammer, say I'm putting a picture on the wall and I accidentally hit my finger with a hammer.
Yeah.
I am aware of the pain. I feel the pain. I realise the pain was because I wasn't so careful with my hammering, but I know that the pain doesn't necessarily identify me. My body has the pain has sent a signal to my brain that has told me that don't hit your finger with a hammer. So it's like, so the pain in the fear inside me is almost like a signal being sent to the rest of my body that be careful, be ready.
Well, I mean, there are times when you've not been aware of your body because you've not been interested in it.
There's been times I've not been. Yes, I have. It's because there's been nothing going on to me that I'm aware.
Yeah, and an event only occurs due to interest or investment.
Yes.
Otherwise, it doesn't even exist or register.
Yes, so there's an yes.
Okay, just like sound. I mean, you could argue that there is noise outside, but actually, if there was no interest or investment,
no, I haven't noticed any sound
there would
outside.
be no thing. So, it's still something that seems to exist because of interest and identification.
Yes.
And that registers as a thing, and a story can register
Yes.
around it. Okay, so as you know, like let's say it was noise, and I lived outside. I live outside the Piccadilly line, you know, and when I went there, I could really hear the tubes going past, you know, and it was like a really like annoying thing because there's a tube, the house is vibrating, the Piccadilly line. It was very, after a period of time, it seemed like the noise started to become less intense as these tubes were regularly going past my house. And after a time, it was like I never hear the tube any longer. I don't even know that there's a tube or when the tubes are going past. It doesn't exist for me any longer. So that was like a real life thing. Now this thing, okay, so, you know, as you've said, there's been times when there's been no fear. And now there's a time when maybe there's a ball of fear here. But there's something that seems to be, there's an awareness of it when it's here and when it's not here. Now this this thing, is there something here which, you know, that which knows when fear is here and when it's not here. Just like if I was to put a mug in front of you, it's an object. Now, are you aware that there is an observing of this mug, which is definitely not the mug? Okay, there seems to be a distance, and there seems to be a clarity that this mug is not you.
Yeah, because it's outside of me.
It's definitely outside of you. That's a clear observation that even though it's an object, it's not what I am. And there's 100% clarity. It's over there. It seems to be there in the room. But, you know, I wouldn't mistake myself to be the mug.
No.
No. Okay, good. So there has been this absolute clarity that just because an object is here, it's not what you are.
Yeah.
You know, with this mug we're using. Okay. There seems to be a detached viewing of it and a total realization that is definitely, just because it's around now in front of me, it has got nothing to do with what I am. Okay? So, it's just an object which is just out there somewhere and it's got nothing to do with anything. Yeah. Good. So, now this object of fear is here now.
Yes, inside of me.
Okay. Is this mug inside of you?
No.
No. Why do you say this mug is not
No,
inside?
because you said the fear, the object of fear. That's inside of me. The mug isn't.
Okay. So
I don't think I'll be able to digest that very quickly.
Another one that doesn't want to let go.
No, I'd like to, but I'm trying to understand this, and I guess the thing is I can be quite scientific about this. So I think fear is an electrochemical response according to external stimulus that has generated that.
yeah. Okay. Let's try and suspend analytical thinking for a little while.
Well, it's not analytical, it's what I learnt at school.
Okay. Let's try and let that go for a
I'll
short
try and
while.
put my judgments to the side.
Okay. So, and try and play along with the metaphor. So, the mug is clearly witnessed or observed to be an object outside.
Yes.
And there's absolutely no confusion that it's got anything to do with the nature of what you really are.
I'm tempted to go a little bit cosmic about that and to say that if it wasn't for my eyes interpreting the light hitting that mug, there would be no mug.
Well, that's also true. But yeah, but if there is a mug, then
Yeah.
there is a you in relationship to it.
Yes.
Yes. I see. So yeah, I agree with that. So, but for you to exist in relationship to perceiving a mug, then there is identification with a you and a relationship to another object.
Yes.
Yes. And sometimes, now you've probably noticed when you've let go of something through forgiveness work or letting go, it no longer has the capacity to bother you or for you to get enmeshed or into a story with it any
Yes.
longer. And that's, anyone who's done spiritual work will know that it loses its charge to have any power over you whatsoever, or for you to be confused about it, or for it to create a block. And that object could be a mug, it could be a person. This is also true with feelings as well. You see, there have been people who've been tormented by pains and fears and all kinds of things, and at a certain point, these things no longer trouble them any longer. So, and they don't say that these things are arising for them or troubling them. Now, okay, so just checking in again, just to this present moment. So, what's occurring right now in this present moment?
I'm aware of the fear inside of me.
Okay, so can you just be, can you be the awareness which is not interested? Can you get to an awareness or an observing which is less interested or not interested in fear?
Don't think so. I don't know.
Okay. Can you, okay.
Because there are thoughts, the external circumstances that are
Oh, okay.
I'm causing this fear are quite pertinent.
Okay. So for this moment, can you drop your interest and investment in any thought?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. We'll make them into a cloud and...
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to go. So basically the story is
Yeah.
an attachment to a girl that I don't think is healthy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to let go of this attachment in order to sort of regain my emotional health. But there's this fear of what I would be like without that attachment.
Okay. Yeah.
And will I be strong enough to go see this through?
Right.
In other words, have I got the balls to dump somebody?
Right.
Yeah.
So...
Quite basically.
Yeah, that's
So the thoughts are all around letting go and what will life be without, even though they haven't been in my life for very long.
Okay, I got you. So if we let all these thoughts become clouds, yeah, and every new thought that arises is also equally a cloud.
Yeah, I'm picturing that, I'm visualising that.
Yeah. And there's a loss of interest even in any cloud that arises.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if another cloud arises, that's also another cloud.
Yes.
Okay. So now, can we, or let me know if you need more time.
No, I'm good.
Okay. In this moment, can we check in and get current to this moment?
I'm actually finding it quite funny.
This is good.
So yeah, I'm seeing the thoughts going in the clouds. That's my visualisation technique. And it is just thoughts, and the thoughts are causing the fear.
Yes.
Because the reality is, if reality is the right word, I have no idea what will happen when I go through this process.
Yes.
I actually don't even know if I need to.
Good.
That's a thought, you know.
That's right. That's also a cloud trying
Yeah.
to emerge.
Yeah. So the tying myself up or not, should I let go of this or should I just go with it? They're all thoughts.
They're all clouds as well. Yes.
Do I continue seeing this person? Do I just wait a little bit? Do I da? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? This isn't right. All clouds.
Good.
And I'm in that state now where it just doesn't really matter, and I am allowed to go with the flow.
Excellent. Are you? So you're the sky now, which will just allow things.
I believe that I'm outside of my brain clutter.
That's very, very good. And is there any sense of restriction now or limitation?
A little, whereas in the fear is more about, well, what am I going to be like without the dilemma?
Okay. What's the nature of this restriction?
Need to control.
Okay.
So the
Is
need,
it,
it's not a thought, it's more, it's I sense the need to control, I sense the need to make decisions, I sense the need that if I don't make decisions and I don't take action, then all will not be well. That's a cloud.
that's a cloud. Well done. You're getting it.
Mm.
So can you make everything that's just happened into a cloud and just release that?
I believe so. I believe.
Which is also a cloud. Good.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's going. I think. I think it's
Which
going
is
into
also a cloud. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Brilliant.
It just doesn't matter, so it's gone.
Are you free of restriction in this
I
moment?
believe so, yes.
Good.
Yeah, in this moment, I'm done.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's just this moment. The only thing that can stop is a cloud as identified
Yeah,
with.
it just doesn't matter.
It
Right
doesn't
now,
matter.
it doesn't matter.
No. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which the cloud there is, but it should matter.
There you go.
I'm catching myself.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like
It's amazingly entwined with this stuff, don't we? It's,
Yes. As soon as this is a metaphoric way of doing self-inquiry, but
Mm.
as soon as a cloud is given meaning, you're lost. You see. If you, it's like what we say with mindfulness or vigilance. It's just to be like in this place of non-restriction. And eventually, if you want to be a Buddha, it's like guarding it. As soon as a cloud emerges, or a feeling emerges, you just to release the identification with it and return to, and that will allow the flow state to start to reoccur.
I can feel it coming. I can feel that now. I can feel it in the way I can see.
Yes.
Because I know that when I'm in flow state, it's almost like I'm looking at the world with a different set of eyes,
Yes.
and I can feel that on its way back.
That is absolute truth.
Yeah.
The world is different, and actually what happens and appears in the world is different, and the nature of what you thought you were is also different.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see, and there's the return to grace. It's as simple as not buying a single cloud. Nah, because that's the fall from non-duality to duality.
Yes.
In that way, you see. So it's very, very, and when you're in grace, it's very, very simple what needs to be done, you see. Very simple.
Yeah. Well, nothing.
Nothing needs to be done. Yes.
Nothing needs to be done.
Yes, actually nothing needs to
I
be
mean,
done.
there's a certain rituals I would need to go through now, as in I have a van parked around the corner that I need to start the engine and drive. But it's not like I'm attached to that idea. It's just parked out there, and that's how I got here. So it's
Yeah, that's also, if you can let that go as a cloud, and then driving will happen, you see,
Yeah.
without the need for you to be, a need for you as a cloud to be driving.
yes.
Yeah.
Right. I
it's
have to
clear
go.
we are anticipating already all these things, isn't it? Our minds are.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They're anticipating.
Right. I need to go.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for your time. It's appreciated. Thank you for that last 10 minutes.
Yeah. put everything in a cloud and
Yes.
let it disappear.
Wait, yes.
And
The silver lining.
vanish.
The same applies to you
Silver
too.
lining.
Thank you so much. What's it?
Yeah.
So
So,
the process of self-inquiring, I really want to get it, because
well,
I've got loads of well, because every self-inquiry, I mean, what I want to do is, I have many moments of peace in my mind,
yes.
but when this fear comes, is like, and I get blocked, is I don't know how to deal with it, and I hate the idea of me dealing with, oh well, I have to get rid of that, rather than that thing or the recognition of that and then disappearing by itself. But when I'm just like that, block, and I think of the self-inquiry, because last time I did a self-inquiry in here, and it was just actually, well, at the end it was quite good, It took a long process with the fireworks and all that, you remember?
Oh, yes.
But at the end, I was like, oh, wow, it did work, But when I'm in those states, I really am blocked, and I don't know what to do. Like, for example, this self-inquiry, it was quite complicated, it wasn't complex.
Was it?
Well, you know,
Okay. I don't know.
it took loads of questions and just to get there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if I have to go through all that when I'm blocked, it's just absolutely impossible. So what are the questions to ask, you know, when I have this fear or this moment of self-identification or that moment of not letting go, whatever? What is the process? What is the simplify the process for me? The questions
yeah.
to ask
Yeah.
myself to, you know.
Okay. With one of the things is with self-inquiry, there's different routes to doing self-inquiry, but one of the more powerful routes is to, like, fear. Fear arises, and it's like, I am suffering fear. Yes, there is a me.
The recognition.
Yeah.
I have to recognize that I'm feeling.
No,
like
no,
that.
no, no. I mean, for fear to be experienced, there has to be an identification with
Oh.
self.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
In relationship to fear.
Yeah.
If there's no identity of self, then fear does not exist.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, for me to suffer, there must be a me first. So I am prior to the existence of fear. Okay. So I feel pain, I feel fear, I feel abandonment, or whatever it may be. So it means then these states only exist because there is an I. There is a sense of self that is suffering this state. So the first thing to do is to look, okay, like let's say, use your example, fear. Yeah, it arises. Or even fear and an identity, like someone who's there, who's thinking about it, may arise. So it's to ask the question, you know, is I need to locate what is the me that is experiencing these thoughts or this emotion. You know, so so the process then for me is to get, well, this is only existing because there is something here which seems to be an aspect of separate self, which is now being suffering in relationship to these other thoughts or these emotions. So forget about looking at the emotion and looking at the thoughts. You know, it's like to get a sense, you know, am I located somewhere? Or is there a me that's feeling this feeling? Where is that? Or what is that? You see? And to try and fish for this. And as soon as I get a grasp of it, like, oh yeah, I seem to be located in my heart area and there seems to be this fear and it seems to be impacting. You ask the question, well, you know, for example, if it was that, if the sense of self was, of myself was a location in the heart area and experience, well, what's observing?
It's the stomach.
Oh, the stomach. Let's use the stomach, yeah.
It just gets there. Yeah.
Okay then. Well, then something here is observing the stomach. Go to the what's observing the stomach area? Yeah.
I mean, right now I don't feel.
No, I'm telling you
in
in general, yeah. So you go, what's observing the stomach area? And then you'll get a sense that there's some detachment, there's some observing of the stomach area, which is not the sensation in the stomach area. And then when you get to that, you then ask it a further layer, because there will be some use that to be the observer of the stomach area, so that you're witnessing it, or there's an observation of it. But that may be limited in some form. So then there's the request to go to if that's limited, then you see how's it limited. So you're taking less attention from the fear now and less attention from the stomach, and now you're in this kind of observing. You ask what's observing that observer, you see, and then eventually you'll get to a place where there's no interest in anything.
Yeah, I used to get to those states where even the observer was being observed.
Yes.
I just easily before. But
Yeah.
now I can hardly detach myself from the thought process.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay.
And when I start doing the self-inquiry, it just feels like another thought. Oh, it's just another thought. It doesn't feel even coherent, you know. And it's just another thought. And then boo, and then suddenly I start doing all these questions, you know. And who is observing this? The thought, and blah, 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 blah. And it's just thoughts, you know. And I get lost in thoughts. You know?
Oh, okay.
That's what happens when I do the self-inquiry lately.
I understand. What I recommend, and has been working with a lot of people, is you spend a few minutes before you do the self-inquiry. If you're experiencing a strong feeling, is to do this other process, which I've shared with you before, which is to allow the feeling to fully arise and not to label or put any kind of label on the feeling. And that kind of softens it up. So if you're feeling like fear, you know, spend 5 or 10 minutes before the self-inquiry. If you can't do the self-inquiry, spend 5 or 10 minutes just feeling it. And then a label or story starts to emerge. Let the thing go, just be in the sensations, and then another story, let go. And as you do that for 10 minutes or so, then it's like some of it lessens a little bit, you see. And then you do the self-inquiry, because it softens it up, because there's so much interest and investment that if you do that, it becomes a little bit looser.
Yeah.
And then you can go, oh, it's like if it's too loud, then if you feel it for a little while, then you do the there's observing of that. And what's observing that observer? So I would do, before starting the inquiry, if you can't do the inquiry, to spend a short period just allowing the intensity to go down just by being with it. You see, in that way. When nothing is happening, there's nothing happening, you see.
Yeah. No, here it's very easy somehow, you know. It's just I don't have problems in here, you know.
Well,
In general, you know, many times I sleep well, for example, you know. It's just when I woke up, immediately I'm very aware of my identity and the problem just right in front of me, you know. So I woke up already, as soon as I open my eyes, you know, or even not opening my eyes, as soon as I wake up, you know, in my conscience, you know, there is this identification with the self, you know, and with the problem, and the repetition of every day, you know, it's more or less the same. Then I can let, you know, this mind just go into the problem and think more problems, or I can just, you know, start praying or saying things from the Course of Miracles, and then, you know, and then it goes, you know, and then I can be the whole day, well, not the whole day, it can be, it depends, I can just have breakfast easily, quiet, not even thinking that I have to find a job and whatever, just sort of relax, you know. But then is somehow at some moment the fear kicks in, you know, the identification of here I am, you know, you should no, you should not relax, you know, don't relax, just feel fear and worry and do this and you don't know what to do and all that, you know. But there are many moments in my life, you know, that I'm at peace, you know. It's like nothing happens in my mind, you know. Nothing happens, just sort of blank, and it's a lovely feeling, you know.
Yeah.
But I know that it's going to be altered, you know. This is my life lately, you know. It's just like it just goes from here to there constantly. It could be in a moment, or it could be in months, or in a period of time, or whatever, you know. But it just flips and flops, you know. And suddenly everything is just fine and perfect, and I'm completely, you know, grateful for what I have, you know, and I'm grateful for everything I have, you know. But then, boom, you know, another month, another week, or another day, or another moment, you know, it's just I'm just concentrated on all my miseries, you know. So it just tends to go like this and like that, and I just
Well, with the flip flop, with the flip flop, is to understand that there is an observation of that which goes in and out. Yes.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, today is sunny. Today is sunny and it's clear skies and it's a beautiful day. And then the next day it's raining. You see. Oh well, yesterday was okay because it was sunny. Today it's like raining, and it's like a flip flop. Yeah. So there is that which is observing both states arising. Yes. There is an observer of the flip flop.
Yeah.
So there is like one, oh, this isn't very nice. This is very, very clear skies and sunny today, and then it's very cloudy today. So, and it seems like there was an experiencing of peace, and then there is an experiencing of suffering. So there is, so, and this may have been occurring all through life. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but actually, there has been an observer here which has been observing this in and out.
Yeah.
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 And actually, this observer, which is before these even nice days and these difficult days, this there is an observer there, and this observer has some interest in this changing. And there is another observer there which has no interest in these good periods and these bad periods, you see.
So there is two observers in there. I'm getting lost in there.
There, I mean,
There is-
when there is the observer which has no interest in what was good and bad, then there will just be the one. But there's still some identification or interest in what is a bad day. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that observer is not a person who is influenced by the day, good day or bad day.
Oh, well,
But it's just something that observes a identification that is, you know, I'm happy because it's a good day or happy because it's not, you know.
well, you know.
So the observer is something that is just observes.
Oh, okay. Well,
No? Is it not like that?
well, you see, I would say in your case, yes and no, in the sense that most people have like observers which are slightly interested still in some things. Yes, that's why they can flip in and out. So it's like today there's just stillness and peace, but when it's cloudy, then suddenly there's a latent identification with rain. Yeah. So it's not a pure observer. Are you with me? So if one takes it now to that which is observing both the good and the bad, changing, flux, one is likely then to dissolve that dualistic perception of it's blissful today and it's not blissful today. Yes?
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
So there is a question that can be arised in the self-inquiry, is that some days is like beautiful and some days is not. But then there's something here which is observing that this has been good and then this is not good. Yes? So this has not yet been this has not been experienced yet. Because when one is in that, actually, yes, there has always been an observer, even through all life, that witnessed the bliss and the strife. This observer is beyond going in and out, you see, and has no attachment to this in and out. It's not affected. So the question, you see, like let's say there's bliss and peace, and then in this moment, now it's gone. Well, actually, there was an observation of this event occurring.
Yeah.
And then, oh, it's back again. Oh, it's gone. Oh, it's back again. Oh, it's gone. Well, there is an observer which is not interested in any of this. You know, so if you inquire and get the experience of this, then the power of this in and out will start to diminish. Yeah. Then it's not so it's a way of dissolving this difference between good and bad that seems to be fluctuating in and out in life. So one is now resting into a more detached, you could say a non-attached observing of life, and not so easily getting hooked in. So that's the question, that's the key question. You know, it's like if I'm in bliss and then suffering, bliss and suffering, bliss and suffering, then I need to ask the self-inquiry question, what's observing and even aware of these shifts, you see. Usually I'll do that, but there is, if the shifts are still occurring, there's still some interest in this in-out motion, you see. So if I ask if there's another observer of this observer, then even that may dissolve, and then there's no dualistic good and bad perception of, oh, I'm in the flow state, and now it's like thinking and fear and all of this stuff. Because the deeper you go in, you know, there's a lot, you know, I mean, it unhooks the habitual interest in these shifts between good and bad. So that's how I let go of that. Otherwise, when one is not identifying and one is just in peace, it's just to remain there, you see, and don't worry about what you need to do. What you need to do, really, you don't try and analyze or think about it. Just do the obvious things that need to be done and forget about it and do them and just carry on. But more important is just to remain in this constant state of peace and stillness and non-duality, you see, because that's a trap. No, I must think and worry all the time, because which is the basis of the ego, which is that control and fear and identification is what will keep you alive, you see. So, or you must think all day long and worry all day long because you make a better decision today. which is actually, I would say, is incorrect.
Yeah.
If you want to think all day and be in fear all day, it's not the best thing. What it is a belief, you know, like just trust that what obvious actions you'll take, and forget about it.
Yeah.
And just stay in this. It's more important just to be in the state of just nothingness and peace and presence, and any essentials, allow them to happen, and eventually the state will look after you of grace, you see. But yeah, you know, so that's it. I mean, if you're here now, simple, and the other way to tackle it is just to be in those states and it's like this prayer to God of grace, you know, as soon as there's identification, to unhook immediately, you see, unhook from that identification. So right now, time does not exist. Only time can exist if there's some kind of identification with time. You know, the future does not exist now. There is no future, no such thing as future. You have to be in identity to have a future. You know, so, I mean, there is no suffering right now if there's no identification. So that's it, it's that simple. The only thing, like waking up in the morning. Waking up in the morning is just all those things which are... the only things that are taking one out in the morning are habitual identifications, you see. Habitual identification with thought, habitual identification with money.
What is that word? Oh,
habitual.
Habitual. Yeah.
Habit.
Yeah.
You know,
Habitual.
and habitual associations. You see,
I suppose it's a habit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
it's a habit. It's erased through non-identification. You know, like nothing's happening. Nothing is happening, but happenings seem to occur because of the habitual identification or the symbolic meaning these things are still representing. Otherwise, home is no different to being in Barbados on the beach, you see, and waking up on the beach. But you wake up at home and go, oh, well, the home's too ugly, it's not good enough, or who's going to pay the bills? So this creates all this stuff. Otherwise, waking up in home is no different to waking up in paradise. So yes, I mean, so there's clearing to be done there. So you've experienced it, and you know it's the truth. When you're in those states, you want to be back in the state, and don't put a magical meaning like it just happened before. It's just one moment at a time.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I mean, that experience for me is like gone. Really, it's like a sense of far away somehow. And yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what you say, but no to that. What you say. I'm not trying to get back into that.
Yeah.
Even sometimes I like to talk about it. I notice that when I talk about it, I feel more alive. Because I'm just like that feeling. It's coming back somehow. Oh, there is a sort of identification with that. So I don't know how to put it in words, but I don't talk about with anyone, but here sometimes there is opportunity to say, oh yeah, because I've been in that state, bliss for a certain time in my life, and I like to remember that, But during the day, there is not this urge to go back to this state. At the beginning, it's been like 4 years ago. That was Christmas of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning, yes, I was usually a bit depressed because I really wanted to go back to that state. I just couldn't cope with this world again. I wanted to go back to that. It's not another world, but the vision of the world, is different. But now I just, it's just like a memory that is forgotten in reality, So there's not this urge of, I want to go back to that state, I mean, it would be fantastic, if it just happens again, Yeah, maybe it's just a matter of letting these thoughts go, thoughts and identifications, and
I think
it's all very blurry. I mean, it's just like a veil in there that is just doesn't allow me to, to anything. I don't know, just to see it with clarity or anything. It's just like.
Well, what about now? Is there a veil in this moment?
Well, there is a sort of the problem buster, like okay. There is a sort of like a big cloud or something that is covering, like something heavy in my head,
Okay.
That could be the sensation, like if you got something, like when you are exhausted and you cannot concentrate and you cannot think because you are exhausted, So it's that sort of feeling, I would say, sensation, here. Something heavy that it doesn't allow me to I don't know, it doesn't, it's there.
Okay.
That is there.
This is good because it's an object. Yeah.
An object.
Yeah. It's even got a shape.
No.
Yeah,
Are you talking about that, or are we talking
well,
about
both of them.
Both.
Both of them, because that's like an object, and this is also like an object as well. So now notice with this, like you said, there's something here, like a heavy object, and this is. Do you want to say something? Yeah.
I need to go. I only want you to mention this one is for you.
Oh,